fireside chat. And the topic is a perspective of the role of women in the handloom industry. With us today, we have Sakina Ansari, who is the moderator, and she is the president of the Wiki Council of the Handloom Council. She's also the founder of Malgadi Stores Private Limited and the co-founder of Good Lives and Kankali Trust. Along with her, we have Pavitra Mudaya, the managing trustee for Vimore Handlooms Foundation. Also with us today is Sabita Radhakrishnan, textile revivalist, research scholar, designer, writer, and author. Welcome, ladies, for this very interesting session. I would now like to hand over the session to Sakina to take this forward.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And it's a pleasure to be here. So doing something willingly becomes heavenly. So here we are to talk about our topic, a perspective of the role of women in handloom sector. And let me tell you that I've always been amazed by these two women who are here with me today. And I request all of you lovely people who have joined us to add to the excitement and put in your questions in the chat box. And let's make this interactive as we are open to more participation from the audience. So let me first introduce my special guest for Fireside Chat. I'll start with Ms. Sabita Radhakrishnan. She is an international award-winning cookbook author, playwright, columnist, freelance writer, a noted textile revivalist, a researcher, scholar, designer, and nurtures a passion for food and textiles. She has been a textile and craft activist for over 40 years. Ms. Sabita Radhakrishnan is chairperson, founder of an NGO, Udabi, based on elder care, a recipient of the prestigious Probus Award for Excellence in Service for the Community. She's received the Spark Award for Excellence in Journalism in 2018 and the Rotary Award for Social Welfare in 2021. Her knowledge, which comes from her extensive research work, is so enlightening and so truly connecting handlooms with our rich cultural heritage. And it's a privilege to welcome her. Welcome, Ms. Sabita Radhakrishnan. So now let me introduce Ms. Pavitra Mudaya. She is the managing trustee of Vimore Handloom Foundation, India. Vimore Handloom Foundation was set up in 2004 as an extension of Vimore Handloom legacy of 47 years. Her sole mission is to empower weavers by conserving India's heritage textiles through livelihood with deep respect for weavers' knowledge. Mrs. Pavitra has won many awards, which she is grateful for. The Ashoka Innovators Award for Public is close to her heart, and it's very special to her. 85% success of weavers to entrepreneurs growth and Museum of Living Textile in Bangalore is what she counts as her achievement. Vimore Handloom Foundation is recognized as a star women's organization for conserving traditional handloom culture by the environmental NGO Earth Day Network. Ms. Pavitra conducts commercial design interventions, training, skill education programs, etc., to make the people succeed. Mrs. Mudaya's work has primarily been the design development and guidance of the weavers, apart from documenting motifs, techniques, designs, and oral history. Her specialty has been in reviving forgotten designs and motifs. Truly privileged to welcome you, Pavitra, and so happy to have you both here with us today. So let's have a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. So let me start with a question to both of you. What is the role women play in the handloom industry in the South? Because I really want to know, and I'm sure many will too. So I'm waiting to hear that to start off with.
Can I answer that question?
Yes, please.
Generally, weaving in the South is relegated to the man, and he's, that's his domain. But the women play a very big role in the sense they do all the ancillary tasks. in the sense, sometimes in a typical house, you see the midterm, and then you have all the women finishing something in the kitchen, putting something on the stove, and while it's getting cooked, they come in and they do the sizing of the warp. They prepare the warp first for the men, to get it stretched outside. Then they load the bobbins, they see to the parvatam, and all the little things, 101 little things related to weaving. Without them, the men would find it very difficult. But why women have not been part of the weaving scenario is obvious, because frankly, she cannot do everything. She cannot run a house, she cannot look after her babies as well as weave. And weaving is very arduous. And the wages, of course, we all know is not commensurate with it. Sometimes she even has a yena, that is, she puts the child in her sari and rocks it to sleep. So she does multifarious things. I hope that answers.
So from me, I think women are the backbone of the handloom industry. As Sabita said, without the women, there would be no textile really. And the women of the house are the unpaid people, because they don't come into statistics, they don't get a salary, and they believe that they're just helping their husband. So it is really sad that we don't even acknowledge their kind of work, their contribution. It is now that we see quite a few women who are really weaving. But the other part of it I'd like to talk, especially from my experience, is we've had a lot of women who are coming out now and looking after the business. So our example, we used to always tell the men weaver is, who can you trust better than your wife? So don't let them just be in the kitchen. Let them come out. And of course, they saw us as examples of manning the house, taking care of home, children, and a business, and coming into the villages to do design. So we'd always din it into the head saying, who can you trust better than your wife? So one great success is now today, all the women are in the forefront, I mean, I'm talking of a small thing of my weavers, but like Sabita says, there's such a lot still to cover. It's a huge thing. But every little change is very important. The other thing is why women are very important. It is because without women, the handloom industry wouldn't have grown, wouldn't have had a sustainable growth over so many years and centuries. The largest number of people who use handlooms, maybe saris and dhotis, is women. So as long as women have dressed to look beautiful for festivities, for whatever functions, the demand kept going up and the weaver had work. So the women actually sustained the handloom industry, It was not just, and the country has n number of functions, festivals. Every reason was a thing to buy a sari. So whether you bought a sari, a dhoti, or a bed sheet, or whatever it is, or towel, 4 products that every family needed. So this constant need also pushed the industry to keep going all the time. And
I want to share one more thing. There is one of the clusters that I mentored, and this is in Tanjavur. I was talking about women weavers being, women being underutilized in the handloom sector, and they could be given relief from their household chores by getting another outside help and so on. So one generation of weavers for the past 8 years has been training women in the art of weaving. And they are doing korvai weaving, which is again a very, very specialized craft. And they are managing it. And here, as a woman, I'm proud to say that women are capable of much more. Sorry, men, if you're listening in, but they are very multifaceted. And you always hear the story of a man who, after a hard day's work in the office, comes, throws off his shoes, sinks into the nearest armchair and says, hey, get me a cup of coffee. But can a woman do the same? I'm talking about our level, and much less at the other level, the rural women, who think this is their duty to serve the man. So I feel this aspect and this scenario has to change. Only then we will provide empowerment to the woman who, as Pavitra said, They play a major role. Where would we be without women?
So true, Samitaka and Pavitra, because I can't say that to my husband, get me a cup of coffee, but I can see that my daughter says that. My daughter asked my son-in-law, so I'm really happy that the change is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So let's move on to the next question for both of you again. So women can contribute a lot to society, and both of you are such great examples and role models to show off and follow. But the women of the world need to
Don't say that.
Yes, but
Say it again.
No,
Yes.
don't say that. I think, yeah, I don't
Role
agree
models.
about it.
No,
Yeah.
we need to follow you. I mean, you people have done so much and so inspiring. So the women of the world need to participate in the most important factor, which is its economy. So the feminine energy has to come forward and help in, maintaining the balance of prosperity. So how do you think we can achieve this through the handloom industry? So this is in continuation of what
I
we
think
just
the
spoke.
first thing one should do is to revise wage structure. I think women weavers should be brought under the National Employment Scheme,
Manrega.
guarantee scheme, so that automatically their wages will be ensured. And even our youngsters, even the men, they are moving away, the young people, because of the low wages, because of the poor working conditions, because their vocation is not really recognized in India. It's the foreigners who come and gape at all our skills, but not them. So this shouldn't be. And I feel that even if we cater to a niche section of society, we shouldn't lose these precious handloom skills. So the wages, for one thing, should be upped. And I know ultimately the sari is going to cost more.
Yeah, definitely.
But they can also deviate to making, yardage, making salwar suits, yardage and things like that. And we have to somehow talk to them and convince them, because there is always a certain mindset by the older people. The younger people are more amenable to change. And as this master weaver told me, he said, women, I said, why have you got women now, 8 or 10 of them in your weaving section? Okay. So he says, women are more reliable and women will not take leave, like men. Yes. I said, I see. That's good to hear that. And they're committed. So there's a lot of hope to bring more women workforce into the handloom sector.
Yeah. It's good to know. Yeah.
So just to add to what Savita says, one, of course, is wages. But I always say we can't always put the thing of what should be. I would say, what am I looking at it at my end to make the difference? Okay, it is an idealistic situation where they need to be compensation, given fair wages, higher. But unless handloom industry is made as a profitable business, and unless you tell them this is viable, why do you want to go and sit in a city and be a non-entity? You could make your money right in your own village and be a Raja there. So I've had great success. So when I talk about it, maybe we're very small. Okay. So, but the thing is, we give design and we have a buyback. So we allow them to work in a risk-free environment for almost a year, beyond which my design is given to them, hand-holding is there, and the relationship is built. And that is where they can take it. It's already tested with us. So they take it to the market and cater to how their customer wants it done. So that flexibility, I think, is very important. Also, the question is, I'm saying you demand. If you say this is it, you say you demand higher wages for it. There's no compromise. The second section to this is, as consumers and as women, I think the big onus is that we bargain with the handloom. The first thing when we see a weaver or an artisan, the first thing is we bargain. By bargaining and reducing his income and reducing that amount, we are actually the people who brought about this situation. So I think we have to blame ourselves as society, because why is it that he hasn't been able to grow? Yeah. So like in Delhi, they say, oh, you're an accident that you've had such great growth. It's all beyond me, not myself. But today I have second generation. I'm training the second generation, doing engineering MBA. But the thing is, if you show them some design and how it can make a better financial thing, I think there's no reason they stop. My issue is use design to put food on the table. Once that food security is there, they will think of looking in a larger way. Once he doesn't have to worry about how to feed my wife and children, I think he will look at wanting to explore, grow, and things like that. So I think it is both of, we are responsible. If we had supported our weavers, we wouldn't have half of them going into jobs and being waiters in the city. Exactly. So I think
it's largely because we have taken them for granted. India is a country, I feel we are not proud of our heritage skills. Yes. There are only some of us, a minority, so to speak. We take everything for granted. We take our temples for granted. We take our sculptors for granted. We take our craft artisans for granted. We don't know what goes behind all this.
But today, Sabita, the younger generations, my great hope is the younger generation are very clued in. The youngsters, they are very conscious about and very rooted in our Indian systems and proud of it. It wasn't like in our generation, everything foreign was great. Today, the youngsters are coming back into what is India specific and have a sense of belonging. So that is a great hope I have for us, because a lot of the youngsters.
What we have to encourage. That is what we have to encourage, and by talking about them, because my experience was a little different. I was a guest faculty in NIFT. Where they teach textiles, and this group was, they are taken textiles as their major. Okay. And you talk to them about Indian textiles, they are blank. They don't know. That's not a subject. So I took it on myself to teach, talk about Indian textiles. And even for the ramp shows, they were hell bent on using synthetics. And so, which is, I said, you have so much here. You can make so much out. Oh, but it's boring. I said, who said it's boring? It's not boring. And mind you, they were just students in the NIFT. Yes. And that, should change. Yes. That should change. And once that changes, we've got it going. I mean, now there's a lot. And as Pavitra said rightly, things are not so bad as before. And in all spheres, we are coming back. It's gone full circles. Yeah, we are now doing away with crockery. We want to use brass. We want to use vengalam. We want to use silver for eating. Foods are coming back, which had gone. Fusion food was the in thing. But now everything is going back. So we hope that in the handloom industry also it will be like that. And it's different in places like the Northeast and Assam, where women do the weaving. They have backstrap looms. Yes. And they do. And we should also run sort of workshops for them regularly. Pavitra, you're in the midst of all this. I'm sure you do all that. Yeah. Training courses, which I hope to do, along with the Rotary, they said they'll fund. Okay. And this is the way we can bring a lot of women to the fore, because women are intuitive. I'm not saying men are not artistic. There's a built-in sort of sense of aesthetics also with them, because they've seen so much, everyday clothing and their children and so on. So one can't generalize, but we should do everything to encourage women. That's what I feel.
It's so true. And like you said, the youth, the younger generation have to get into this, and they are more aware. That's one thing that I see. They're more aware of what they're buying. A lot of, movements like, Made in India, Make in India, and those things have helped these children to understand that they have to go back to their roots, and they value their roots, the traditions. So that's a good thing I see in my kids also. So let me go to the third question. Modernization in the handloom industry is important, and understanding the effects of it helps in evolved practices and traditions. So how important is modernization, and does it affect our cultural identities? What do you think? Do you think it affects, or it will, or it won't?
I think modernization is one constant. We have to accept it as part of growth and which is happening. Okay. So there's no getting away from it. Okay. But modernization aids in taking our textiles forward. I don't look at it as a barrier. because but it should be acceptable. But I think when we train people, we don't say use hydraulic looms, we use the basic looms. So at which level we start them off at, as long as they're aware of it, I think it is part and parcel of it. And modernization is what has given them access to markets across India and across the world. So these are things that are all the benefits that we have to take in, and we cannot be stuck in an old mold, And I think it also allows for creativity, because that is the way that it can move forward. You cannot do a design that has been done 100 years and done to death. Exactly. It has its importance and it has its space, but it has also to be acceptable. Also, you need to evolve and go across bringing today's, expressions to the product. So I think it's very fluid and it's necessary and it's part of it. Yeah.
When you say modernization, one immediately thinks about power looms, because when I was commercially active and running my boutique and doing a lot of research and so on, I found that time and again the weavers would come and say, being with handlooms is no good, Amma. We are not getting wages. This was the constant refrain. And they said, it's so much easier to work with power looms. And I said, no, as long as you work with me, you will work only in handlooms. Then the next debate was, you don't get paid so much for working with cotton yarn. You get much more for silk. Then at that time, somewhere around, I think the late 80s, polyester came in. And they found that the yarn was so easy to use. They could say, instead of one sari, they could probably weave about 4 saris. And it was smooth, it was perfect, and they could reproduce any kind of design with using polyester yarn. Now, was it acceptable? The first thing was no. I will not sell such things in my boutique because it's polyester yarn. Then came the next question. But it's polyester woven on a hand loom. Everything is done by hand. So would you go against it when these men are working and they're earning more money? Would you still say that it goes against the grain and that it is not acceptable? So this kept going on in my mind, and I want to share something with you. When Dakshin Chitra was opened, I was very much a part of the museum, the textile museum. I was asked to go and collect saris from anywhere I thought, any store which was selling good saris. And of course, I went to Co-optex, I went to Radha Silk and so on. So when I got it, Debbie, who is the person behind Dakshin Chitra, she said, but Savita, you got all traditional saris. I said, isn't that what a museum is all about? And then you put a little label and explain how it was. She said, where are the polyester saris? I was horrified. She said, Debbie, polyester saris in a museum. She said, my dear, when you and I are dead and gone, the younger generation should know that in the 80s and 90s, polyester yarn was also woven on the hand loom. So you got to show people what there was. That is the meaning of of a museum, and it's an evolution. So for me, this was something very strange and totally unacceptable. But I did, for some time, I did market polyester saris in my boutique, provided they were traditional. But after a time, I just couldn't, because it went against the grain, and I can't wear anything synthetic.
Same here.
So the women, again, you talk about women in the handloom industry, they were excited because they could, on
Never maybe the modern us what crib region for the Indian brilliance is you aspect of it, putting it totally to use whichever way. And I think even the modern generation, the essence they big hands of the younger generation. There are people, and it amazes me the kind of commitment that youngsters have today. So that's it.
So interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Sabitak, I have a question for you. I'm sure so many women would love to know your secret sauce. How have you
Secret
been
sauce.
able to
Now
be
you're going
so,
into cooking.
yes, how have you been able to be so authentic and do so much in so many fields? I would like to know that.
Well, I think from the time I was about 6 or 7, I was a kind of restless child. I wanted to do just everything. And I had many interests. And my father was interested in 101. That was all I looked at life. And gave life. knowledge. You just
Amazing.
During issue, but what make so many situations and one thing I talk a lot to them. So I believe it's important to build up pride, self-confidence, and make them look at themselves as artists, not just as wage workers. And so it's very important to build up confidence for them that I can do it. And I hate hearing this, I can't do it, it's difficult. Actually, very nice thing is, I must thank Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, who we had a relationship with. I was very young, and she had made me do one sari long ago. I just looked at these two old women as being so vain, because I couldn't understand why are they so finicky. So she insisted I do it at a particular loom where she had a control, and then I wasn't happy with the product. So when I gave it to her, she said, "Why are you looking like that?" I said, "Yeah, you insisted on doing like this, blah, 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 blah." I just let loose and told her. And then she gave me a dirty look. And after some time, she said, "I just don't want excuses." I was so upset, and my mother didn't open her mouth because she knew her value. I didn't realize how important they were like. So at that point of time, even today, when they say they can't do it, I say, "Don't give me excuses." This is a line that I use for all my weavers, She sat me down and she said, "Work around the problem. Don't say that you can't do this, or don't say it was because of XYZ. And I think it was a great lesson to say. But I think today they are very smart. They just take a photo and they're able to create a design. The only thing is I insist that they show me the design before they convert to graph. The thing is about technology is all of them do it on the computer. So some of the circles, the round edges are not always okay because they don't have the latest software. So I insist that they do it also by hand. And where I want correction, I will insist. And they curse me and then they'll say, "Why in Tamil, why are you so difficult, blah, blah, blah." But anyway, when they see the product, then they know it's worth the effort, but it becomes a great learning. So I think it's okay that way. Yeah.
See, women in the industry, another person I have a lot of respect for is Rita Chishti,
Yes.
who has written the Sari book, and I know her quite well. Okay. And for her, she's such a purist. Sakina, all our handloom saris and things. Ultimately, the thread used is mill made. It's not handloom. They're made with that. But she actually insisted on women spinning the yarn like khadi. That's when it becomes khadi. And even that is handmade. And she does about 300 or 400 counts in khadi. And it's super soft and so beautiful, so nice to wear. And she's got this umpteen ways of draping a sari.
Draping this.
So she wears that 20,000 rupees worth of a sari at home all day long, like a veshti, like pants. And when I went to meet her in the morning, she was wearing it. And then later on, late in the evening, she was still wearing it. And she was wearing it so nicely. I said, how can you wear the sari at home? She said, what? Saris are meant to be worn. What is there if it's 20,000 or 30,000? She had a lot of women there working for her. And in Kalakshetra also, we had a lot of women there. Only the women did the hand block printing, which again is done by a man because it requires power, to lot of strength. But then the women in Jaipur do it. They all do it. So in the south, I don't know, somehow it is different. And women were there in the weaving section also in Kalakshetra. Perhaps not sitting at the loom, but then helping. And they learnt weaving on the job.
So women actually who weave, like the korva you were saying. So if I have a set of weavers where the women do the korva or do anything, I always tell the man, give them extra wages. So in a way, we are small, but we support these kind of things. And khadi, again, there is a lot of issue. I did a lot of training in a place called Dausa, where they did khadi. So I introduced Gotapati because the local Rajasthani tradition is Gotapati into the khadi. It came out so beautifully. And they have an order of 900 pieces. But the issue is I get a notice from the khadi board. So this is again about policy. Because we are not allowed to use the word khadi. Only KVIC can use the word khadi. I mean, this is a totally different topic of talking of what the policy is, how it's killing our industry is beyond me. The more rules we have to create this. So a man who's woven khadi for 3 generations cannot say khadi. Cannot use the word. It is, just check it, because every designer has got a notice. I've got it for 5 crore. It's ridiculous. So I said, you should pay me. You're using my design. You're making money. But this is the situation all across the country. I mean, the tragedy is our policies are just killing the industry. Sorry to say.
And on a different note, Pavitra, how do you think museums are relevant, and why do you think it's important to us?
So museums are very relevant because, see, something like mine, when people come to visit, they're excited because they say, oh, I remember my grandmother in this. I remember my grandmother. It's somebody relatable. And also, I think my museum, is very important because I say celebrate our commonality instead of our differences. That's very important, especially today. We have to understand that both of us have a shared history, the shared legacy of textiles. It's not only mine or not only yours. So instead of say this belongs to my state, that belongs to my state, I'm against that, because I believe that if you know the basic of weaving, you can do any technique.
But it is across India.
It's across India. It's right across India. So you're in the museum, you'll have things from Maharashtra, something down from Manipur, somewhere, and you can see the interlink in every textile. You'll see 2 references from 2 geographically different places. And I think
can one donate textiles or sarees to the museum?
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Everything is on donated textiles. I mean, one thing I feel, I'm in a blessed space. Everyone sends me their old textiles. It becomes a way to study. That study helps in teaching. And also the way of documenting is just unbelievable, I mean, we've had doves, we've had minarets, and I mean, entire scene of a Middle East scene, we've had Chinese pagodas, all those are something unbelievable, It's not the mainstream. So we've had car, airplane, bicycles.
No, those were in vogue in my mother's time.
So it's not about just adorning yourself and looking beautiful. It's a way of communication. It's about sharing. So it goes beyond just a woman looking fabulous in a sari, and I think that is why it's relevant to be able to uncover all these deeper stories.
But I think you're doing a fabulous job. I think somewhere up there, your mother was
Thank you.
In fact, I forgot. I had the sari, puja sari I bought from Chimmy. And I wanted to show it. It's a beautiful puja sari, and the weave is just exquisite, and it's faded. but I'd proudly wear it anywhere.
Can I just tell you one thing? The puja sari is a way that I'd said it's been in production for 45 years without me. Okay. And so what I'm saying is when design can be adapted, someone wants polyester, put the cotton in polyester, someone wants silk, someone wants without zari, someone wants. So the options is when you teach, show that those are the options that you can to cater to your market. So I hold it 45 years.
Ladies, sorry for interrupting. I think we have...
We're running out of time.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you a last question to both of you. Yeah, so we can go on, To desire is something personal, but to have a vision is all inclusive. And it can transform whole situations. I am curious to know what has your vision been, or rather continues to be, because I'm sure you both have transformed whole situations and scenarios around you. So please tell us what role you have played in changing.
Okay, I was in active transformation, and I was the then, and Pavitra is the now. But now I'm then and now.
Really. Not much.
Yes. Because we have to hand over the baton to youngsters to carry, and I'm so proud to see women like her carrying it on. And I am still working with weavers. I'm still doing it. I have visions. But what happens is when age is against you and physically you're not so active, you can't really run into, go into the pockets where there is this weaving and, talk to people as you used to do. But at least you're glad you do it. Now with this wonderful technology that we have now, it is still possible to reach them. Okay, Sakina, to just say something very short, I have visions for women. I am starting some training schemes for women in weaving to acquaint them with different kinds of weaving, and also to open up new areas of weaving like jamdani.
Anybody so better.